Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. This is way back. Welcome on, Chris Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by DodgerBlue.com's Matt Moreno, Blake Williams, and boys, we have got a trade. The biggest move of the Dodgers offseason thus far, maybe. The Dodgers trade for old friend Miguel Rojas in exchange for Jacob Amaya, a move made with the Miami Marlins. There are luxury tax implications here. There are playing time implications here. We can get on to all of that. Matt, I'll start with you. Surprised by this move? Excited by this move? How would you describe your reaction?
Yeah. Oh, man. Not necessarily surprised. I won't go to say that I'm excited. I like Miguel Rojas, the person. I think he's, a good upbeat guy to have in the clubhouse. But as things have come out, and I know we're going to get into it as the video progresses, my take on this trade, at least so far, is that it was kind of an interesting one. And I'm not necessarily fully understanding the thinking behind it, but, this is the position the Dodgers find themselves in.
Blake, as I dig into Miguel Rojas, there are two pieces to Rojas. There's the offensive piece to his game, and there is the defensive piece to his game. On the offensive side, his weighted runs created plus was 73. That was 129th out of 132 players in Major League Baseball that had 500 plus at bats. That was 10% worse than Cody Bellinger's weighted runs created plus was last season. That was the same number, by the way, that Hanser Alberto put up. He had a better batting average than Hanser Alberto. He had a worse on-base percentage, Alberto had a worse on-base percentage and a worse slugging percentage. The flip side is the defense, 7th in outs above average among shortstops. He was in the 98th percentile. I mean, is there a way to paint this, Blake, that can come across as positive, or is this just simply confusing?
Yeah, if he's just your replacement for Hanser, I love the move. If he's going to be your starting everyday shortstop, I'm not very excited about it, especially if it's taken away at bats from guys like Michael Busch or Miguel Vargas. It was an interesting move, as you guys were saying. And if he's a backup, I like it, is basically my take on it.
Because he's a massive defensive upgrade, and he's giving you the same offense that Hanser was, with maybe a little bit of a higher ceiling offensively than Hanser?
Yeah, basically. If you look some of his previous years, he was a solid hitter. He's not going to blow you away offensively, but he can contribute. And I think there's more upside there than Hanser. It's just, I don't really think he should be starting over some of their younger guys.
Yeah, Matt, looking at his StatCast number, the positives, he was 95th percentile in strikeout rate, 92nd percentile in whiff rate. The negatives, he was 7th percentile in exit velocity, 3rd percentile in hard hit rate, 3rd percentile in barrel rate, 12th percentile in walk rate. The flip side, again, though, is the defense. Now, we know the shift rules are changing. You've got to play two guys on either side of the bag, so there's a belief that there's going to be a greater emphasis and need defensively at a position like shortstop, because maybe you can't cover up some deficiencies in ways like you have been able to in the past. But Blake brings up the good point. Is Miguel Rojas going to be the starting shortstop for the Dodgers next year?
And so what's interesting is I disagree with Blake. For me, this trade doesn't really make sense unless he's going to be your starting shortstop. And a lot of that stems from, like I've expressed on some of our other videos, I'm worried about Gavin Lux being the everyday starting shortstop. I'm not fully sold on him being the answer. Now, could he play his way into that role and prove me wrong? Sure. And will I sit up here and say, you know what, I was wrong? Then absolutely. But as things stand right now, I've said, the Dodgers sort of need a starting shortstop. I don't think it could be Gavin Lux. And if it is going to be Miguel Rojas, I think that could make sense. I think then you get into a situation of you're comparing him to, some of the maybe lesser tier shortstop free agents that are still out there, and that, could the Dodgers have signed at a lower salary to avoid, kind of luxury tax implications. But Mike DiGiovanna of the LA Times reported that they were over the luxury tax threshold before this trade anyway. So, yeah, I mean, that's why, in my initial comments, the whole thing is just kind of interesting to me, because I don't fully see, what the Dodgers are thinking. If at worst he ends up being, your replacement to Hanser Alberto, then it can work. But for me, at least as it stands right now, I would want to see him as the starter at shortstop.
Blake, the guy going the other way in this is Jacob Amaya, a shortstop prospect for the Dodgers, who, funny enough, kind of projects best as a Miguel Rojas type. He is supposed to be a glove-first defensive shortstop who had a good beginning of last season offensively and then struggled mightily down the second half of last season. Part of me wonders, like, could Jacob Amaya have just played the role that we are asking Miguel Rojas to, and it would save us $5 million against the threshold?
I think he could have, but you're getting lower upside on both offensive and defensive. So he is a really similar player. It's just, you know, what you're going to get with Rojas. You're kind of guessing what you're going to get with Amaya. So to get a starting caliber player that you can plug in, it's not a bad trade. I just wouldn't have given up 6 years of Amaya for one of Rojas when they're basically the same guy.
Yeah, so Rojas making $5 million, Matt, and we'll touch on this. This is the point you brought up. The Dodgers, as we know, have seemingly been attempting to stay under the tax threshold the entire offseason. Fabian Ardaya used the Fangraphs estimate saying that the Dodgers were 100,000 under the luxury tax threshold. As you pointed out, Mike DiGiovanna of the LA Times says that the Dodgers were actually already over that limit, that there was no cash exchanged in the deal. So the Dodgers are taking on all $5 million of Rojas's last year here, which means presumably that the Dodgers are 5, 6, 7-ish million dollars over the threshold, meaning they are not going to reset the tax unless something crazy happens. To me, that's the wildest part of this whole deal.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this was my concern, you know, kind of all along with the way they were sort of operating. And like you hinted at and alluded to in your Trevor Bauer video that went up of, you know, the Dodgers had some sense that they were going to owe money to Bauer, right? Whether it was going to be the full amount or, you know, 15 million, 18 million, 20, whatever, they had to have known.
Yeah.
Because it was unlikely that, you know, the full suspension was upheld, and it was unlikely that it was completely overturned. So surely it was going to land somewhere in the middle. And so then with that and doing the math, like, you basically backed yourself into a corner of kind of still needing to address your roster, but not having, you know, I won't say not having, I'll say, because they can spend as much as they want,
Yeah.
frankly, not wanting to apparently spend. And now, like, all that's left with still needing to improve your roster are sort of kind of these replacement level type players. And again, nothing against Miguel Rojas. I think, you know, saving Clayton Kershaw's no hitter, he's forever etched into Dodger lore. But yeah, and, you know, I guess it's important to also clarify that the Dodgers technically, they have until the end of the season to get back under the luxury tax threshold. But that would entail shedding salary, which teams that are, and I know I've joked about the Dodgers tanking in 2023, but teams that aren't trying to make the playoffs, that's what they do, right? And if the Dodgers all of a sudden become sellers this year, then there's going to be bigger issues.
To say the least. To say the least. I don't think any of us are expecting that. But, Blake, if, let's say, the Dodgers are $6 million over now after this Rojas move, which direction do you see this going? Do the Dodgers start making moves like a Brian Reynolds trade and then just say, screw it, we're already over, let's just add some pieces and make a run? Or do you see them trying to make moves to get them under it, whether it's trying to move off of a Chris Taylor or a Blake Trinan type contract, whether it's moving some of the guys that maybe are due arbitration numbers or negotiating multi-year contracts to lower the AAV? How do you see this playing out?
Yeah, I think they're still going to try and get under it because that's what they've been trying to do all off season. And if they can't do it with getting guys to take lower arbitration deals, they'll probably try and package Trinan with a prospect and trade him at some point, maybe closer to when he's healthy, to a team that needs bullpen help. They're going to try, I think. It's just going to be tough.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would think if that's the plan, that Andrew Friedman has the plan in place and sort of, you know, a likely outcome where they get under. Because look, the worst thing that could possibly happen, I think all three of us would agree, is if the Dodgers end up $5 or $6 million over that threshold, don't reset, and then somehow we have to pay the consequences of that next year or the year after. I don't foresee that happening. I think Andrew Friedman, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt until we get there. But this trade, I will admit, is puzzling to me because the offensive side of Rojas's game is basically Hanser Alberto. Yes, he's very good defensively, but I mean, I said it, 129th best weighted runs created plus out of 132 players with 500 or more at bats. That's Miguel Rojas. Great defensively, not great offensively, to say the least. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know what you think. You can check out the full write-up on DodgerBlue.com. As always, please subscribe, ring the notification bell here as well. We will get you all the latest information about the Dodgers when it happens. Enjoy the rest of your day. As always, go Dodgers.